Hello and welcome to Spiritfall. I'd like to thank Gentle Giant Games for their review copy for review. This is a platformer fighter roguelite. I've played about 2.5 hours so far. The game is surprisingly difficult for me, considering that I've played a decent amount of platformer fighters. So I'm gonna ignore all this stuff that's happening over here, because this is all stuff I'll talk about later. Right now I'm going to focus on, we got 3 different weapons to start out. These will be what you have to be able to unlock. The hammer is your starting weapon, and you have these training dummies that you can mess with. From fiddling around with all 3 of them, they do kind of play pretty differently from each other, which is really nice. The time to run, we just go right in here. There is a decent amount of mechanics in play here. So for now, you just kind of have a couple enemies to attack. Now here's one of the first mechanics that I need to talk about is this game has a Hades-style boon system, and they're all built around certain mechanics. So this one is all about wounded, which is... okay, so it's crits. I was gonna say bleed, but apparently I was wrong. It's just crits. And then you get a choice between 3. I'm gonna gradually deal more damage to enemies the closer they are to half their itself. And then you exit the room. It is room-based, and also you have this sort of Slay the Spire route system, which I don't know. I'm not sure how necessary that is, but it's not bad. Another thing to mention out of the gate here is there's these shielded enemies. You can tell they're shielded by the yellow health bar. And shielded enemies cannot be, like, pushed around, basically. Until their shield is gone, obviously. And just like a normal platformer fighter, depending on the direction of your input, it changes the type of attack you can do. So these happen, I think, every room? I'm pretty sure every room. Yeah, these are just your permanent progression resources. I didn't even need that. I don't know why I took that. I have all of the scrolls-related things unlocked. And then this is a relic chest, which are passives. And you can only carry 3, which is interesting. I'm not sure how I feel about that. So I can choose between the one that gives me the stuff based on crit. I don't remember what the bear is. I believe this one is frost damage type stuff, so slow down enemies and whatnot. And then, I don't remember what this one... oh, this is stuff related to stunning. I rely a lot on enemies being stunned, so I'm gonna take that. In terms of how it plays, it's pretty fast-paced and very difficult. The enemies make it tough to just sit there and stun them all to death, you know? Because that was one of my main concerns going in, is that you'd be able to just kind of play baseball with the enemies. And you definitely can, like, if you're better than me. But also at the same time, like, if you don't have an enemy involved in your clump that you're just ping-ponging off of walls and stuff, most enemies do have projectiles or a sort of dash attack to hit you from far away. And they actively make it a point to be incredibly annoying to deal with and to break up your comboing. Which is good. I mean, that's exactly what I would want from enemy design from here. And I mentioned that I'm terrible. The game is very punishing. You take a lot of damage from each hit, and you don't have that much health. Yeah, getting more health is not easy to do. There are a few upgrades that you can get from the sort of spirits, as they call it, that change your weapons a little bit, but you can't change your primary weapon. The only thing you can do to change your primary weapon is the sort of passive stat upgrades, basically. But you could change, like, your range attack, you could change... you could get something that uses the LT button of the controller. So there's a few things with that going on. I wish there was more, but I mean, obviously this is early access, like day one early access, so... What's here is really good. From playing with the weapons, I have found that they're all designed pretty well. The only thing so far that I felt like is that the sort of gauntlets are potentially a little OP. At least when compared to the hammer. But I don't know if that's just because I'm not as good with a slower weapon, or if it's actually just a better weapon. Because the gauntlet feels a lot closer to what I'm used to playing in multiplayer platformer fighters. I tend to like the really fast-paced weapons, and I'll be showing off the gauntlet later. Frost does a lot for me. Getting these enemies frozen is really helpful. Right. Just kind of collecting as much health as possible for the boss. Yeah, let's try to get some stuff for crit. That's bad, yep. That's to be how it goes, is I get kind of hyper-focused on going after one enemy and then get hit from a different direction. You really gotta manage where you're placing enemies and pay attention to the entire screen. Let's take the combat rune. Let's see. So your essence multiplier is essentially more money, I believe. I haven't quite figured that out yet, to be completely honest. Try to get rid of the flies. The flies are incredibly annoying. Saw that hit coming. One thing I do really appreciate about this game is enemies are pretty good about telegraphing their attacks. And due to the art style, it is actually really easy to tell what's happening at all times. Like everything is very, very distinct. Which makes it a lot easier to keep track of the pretty large amount of enemies the game throws at you. Another thing to mention is the enemy variety seems to increase per playthrough. A lot of the enemies, or a good amount of the enemies that I'm dealing with now, I did not have to deal with, like on my first run. Like this guy, for example. This guy has only shown up within the last, like, maybe 5 or 6 runs. Out of the, well, I think I've done 15 runs at this point. So there is sort of like progression in terms of enemy variety, but it seems like it's not necessarily like something that you can go out of your way to unlock. It just kind of happens as you play. So that's something to note is, I saw on the Steam forums that there was a complaint about like lack of enemy variety, but I do wonder if that was mostly because when you start out the game it does feel like there's not that many enemies, but the enemy pool does increase. I am just getting slaughtered. Let's see. You also want enemies that inflicts frost. I mean, anything that gives frost is good. Well, that's not gonna help much with the boss. see, let's try to get more crit. So wounded is the bleed mechanic, that's right. Right. Welcome to my nightmares. The boss is... Let me put it this way. I think she might need a nerf, considering this is first boss. Like, holy crap. I've managed to get her down about halfway, and it tends to go that way every time. Like, it's rough. But there's very, very little time in between her attacks to hit her, unless you're just kind of hating back and using ranged attacks. And I'm not sure if that's intended or not to sort of play really slow, but I have not figured out how to get the timings right on that. It's hard. The game as is hard, but, you know. So this is one of the many, many permanent progression systems. There is a ridiculous amount of permanent progression systems. So each of these are a skill tree that is based on some different stuff. I don't think any of the trees are fully completed either. I believe throughout early access they're going to be working on more stuff to throw into this. So you got the eggs that you can spend on these. So I'm going to gain 25 base max health. See, this would have been nice to know about. Give me. And then obviously, like, there's a ton of trees in there. And then here is one of the other meta progression systems that uses the scrolls. I have all of them already, but this is essentially like sort of stuff that can appear in the areas, or actually that's all this is just like, hey, you want more stuff that can appear in rooms? Go ahead. That's how you unlock it. And then down here we have another permanent progression system where you can upgrade your weapons. Let's see. I mean, I'm just gonna take this. We're gonna go with the gauntlets next. So I am personally not a fan of permanent progression, especially not to that extent. But you know, it's there. So this is the gauntlets. These feel very similar to the, what are they called? There's a weapon in Brawlhalla that feels very similar to these. So I'm a lot more comfortable with these than the hammer. Your bolt rapidly damages enemies in a straight path. What does poise do? Opposing attacks deal negative, minus 25% damage. I always read that as poison for some reason. Alright, so now my bolt is interesting. Okay, it's like a boomerang. So I can take more max health or money. I'm just gonna take max health. Yikes. I'm getting slaughtered. Okay. I need to focus more. So yeah, we just get access to more permanent progression. At the very least, so the one thing I can say about the permanent progression is, like, while it does annoy me that it's there to the extent it is, at the very least they give you the currencies for all of them very often. So it's not like you're spending 300 hours grinding permanent progression stuff. You should be able to unlock stuff really quickly. I can't. There we go. Nice. It wasn't too bad. It still wasn't perfect, but like the cooldown speeds are faster. That's great for the boomerang, especially. This way. Oh, I almost had the timing right. what shield damage is, honestly. Oh wait, it's just straight up damage towards enemy shields. I'm stupid. I always read that as like, what do you mean half shields? Oh wow, the shield goes down way faster. That's nice. I need to remember to prioritize shield damage a little bit more. Part of die, do not understand. Oh gosh. I tried really hard to get out of the way. Another mechanic, these gems let you upgrade your passives you get from the spirits. I'm struggling to... Yeah, I was worried about that. I couldn't seem to get them aligned. So you have a stomp attack? I didn't even know that you could do that. Maybe it was just glitching out, I can't tell. Can I fill this up? No, I can't. Nice. I'm gonna get a lot more of those eggs, because apparently there's max health upgrades involved. Just make that better. This is one of the things you can unlock. It just, hey, free health. Ow. I really like the boomerang. I've never had it before. Alright, that was really clean. I do like how much the game rewards combos. It's very satisfying. The game feel for this game is fantastic. It's a little bit heavier than Brawlhalla, but it's not as heavy as like Arrivals of Aether, where that game is really heavy in my opinion. It's sort of right in that sort of in-between spot. But these have a lot of oomph to it. Especially as you're throwing enemies about. Something related to health. Deals more damage. I mean, sounds like a flat damage increase to me. Right. Gonna buy health, obviously. Let's try to get something with freeze. So I've got LT attack now. Ooh, that should be really good on the boss. Alright, here we go again. Yeah, like that one attack specifically just feels very... I don't want to say unfair. but extremely hard. Then once you break out of the shield, you can also bounce around this enemy or the boss, which is really cool. Alright. Made it to the halfway point. Well, third. Oh my gosh. Also that attack, the sort of large slash is not possible to predict, I think. Whoops. That's my bad. I think that was my best attempt at her, actually. I think I can do it, it's just gonna take a lot more practice. So that's the gauntlets, and then I'll show off the bow. So the bow is all about range attacks, and I am not gonna be good with this thing, because it is all over the place. We're gonna give it a shot anyways. You do keep the meta progression between runs too, which also helps. Like, getting through the permanent progression I think is gonna be not terrible. Yeah, this feels really awkward to use actually. I don't like the 3 light attack combo on it. So Drenched is just stun. Go for the relic. You know, I wonder if you could cheese this. Can I just kind of sit back? For the sake of actually having fun, I'm not going to do that, but I have a bad feeling that I could just sit back and spam the heavy. The bow feels great to use too. All the weapons feel really good to use. I think the only thing that I would criticize with the weapons is I feel like the gauntlet should do slightly more damage. Even though it's really spammy, enemies take quite a while to kill with it. I missed. The bow in comparison does a ton of damage, actually. So with the bow, you kind of just want to be above things, it looks like. Because a lot of the attacks kind of smash downwards. Launcher deals more damage. I mean, I'm using the launcher attack, which is the heavy attack, quite a lot, so... we're gonna take health. Wow. The bow is stupid. Oh my gosh. Either I'm just really good with the bow, or the bow is actually dumb and might need to be nerfed. It's so good at crowd control. Ow! How dare you? Guess I should keep my mouth shut. Yeah. We have found the one enemy that can deal with this. Okay, I should have used the launcher up. That's kind of hard to remember. Is the light attack upwards is diagonal. Alright, we're just gonna make? Good question. I think more launcher damage is the way to go there. Was I able to aim that? I am able to aim that. Interesting. I'm a little scared. I don't want to like commit to attack. Yikes. I guess the only con with the bow is you can't really smash into enemies into the walls easily with this. Better bolt. For the health. Scared. Fear. Oh, I'm trying to capitalize on it. Got it. Want any of this, honestly. Right. Health, please. You give health sometimes. Whenever you are hit, deal damage to nearby enemies in a small radius. I mean, sounds good to me. Definitely isn't the health that I want, but hey. Yeah, that attack is just not readable. Jeez, okay. I can kind of just spam the, Hey! Still don't know how to dodge that. I'm getting too aggressive. Okay. Oh, that was a really good attempt, though. Look, I'll get her someday. It's like one more quick look at the couple upgrade trees. So there's also this hopping / bouncing mechanic that I haven't quite figured out how that works either. If you're hit during an ability that has a cooldown, to refund its cooldown immediately. Starts with money. Recover 1% health per visited region. Well, I can't get out of the first region. Oh, that's also something I should talk about. On early access release, it will be launching with, I think it was 3 regions, although it doesn't give me access to, yeah, it does. So it'll be the outskirts, and then whatever these 2 are. For the trailers, this is like a grassy area probably, and then whatever the 3rd one is. You're launching with 3 weapons. They're placed to be, I believe, 6. Not a pretty small amount of relics, but it's fine. The relics aren't really the focus anyway. Really the basic combat is kind of the focus, it feels like. That all these permanent progression nightmares, pretty good variety of enemies. That I'm missing one of the characters, but I wonder if this implies that there's gonna be another player character. I think that'd be pretty cool. And then this is all the spirits they plan to add. I believe 1 or 2 more. At least within the first few months from the roadmap. But yeah, that's Spiritfall.